Tonight we're taking a look at green building here in Orange County. That is the process of designing a building and operating it so that it has a minimal effect on the environment. We have with us during this segment the president of LPA. He is Dan Heinfeld. Welcome to the program. And as we saw in the first segment, you're a company responsible for the Environment and Nature Center in Newport Beach, but also a number of other buildings here in Orange County that people would be familiar with.
Yeah, we've been very fortunate to have a large presence in Orange County for quite a while. Your viewers would be familiar with the Saddleback Health Science Building, Laguna Beach High School, the Rancho Santa Margarita City Hall, among other things. And we've been particularly blessed with the ability to do a lot of sustainable buildings and have been doing it for a long time.
I was going to ask, when did you get, it seems, like everybody's into being green now. How long have you been into this part of the business?
The very first, what would be considered a sustainable building by even today's standards, would have been the Irvine Ranch Water District headquarters. Was done in 1988.
Mm-hmm. And what made that so special?
Well, it's interesting because a lot of the things that you hear people talking about with green building design right now is about technologies and all these new sort of things. But green building is really centuries old. And so things like orientation, knowing where the sun is, siting your building properly, those are age old. And so a lot of the things that we've done forever and ever have just been about that kind of thing. And what we call conservation, the very first thing in sustainable design is about conservation. What can I do less to get more out of? But did you actually go out and say, we're going to be a company that's going to design green buildings? This is what we're going to do. I think it was an evolution, and I don't think we ever sort of like there was that moment where the light bulb went off where you said, we're going to be green designers. I think what we found very early on was that green is a fabulous design partner, because instead of chasing fashion and some of the things that go in and out of style, you're solving a unique problem, and it's a problem that's unique to that site and to that client and that program. And so therefore, we automatically gravitated to it because we think it just made us better designers.
One of the things that Rick mentioned in the first part of the program is the Ford building that a lot of us are familiar with off the freeway in Irvine. And you talk about a green building, and in that particular case, it really is, particularly the roof.
Yes, absolutely. It has a 40,000 square foot green roof, which is one of the largest ones in the country. And one of the things that's really interesting about that building is almost 10 years old now. So Ford was really kind of a leader in terms of doing a green building. And it was almost, I believe it was the first LEED NC project in California.
Yeah, we're seeing a picture of it. There's literally, the roof is covered by?
That is literally covered by landscaping, and that has several benefits. One is it reduces the heat sink around the building, because plants are really wonderful in the fact that they have an evaporative process that they give off cool air around it. It also minimizes stormwater runoff, which is a big issue here in California with sort of development and all of that water running into the ocean and literally choking our oceans.
But who came up with the ideas? Let's put plants on our roof.
It was actually happened in a design charrette, because the building is actually 5 stories where the administration portions are. The one-story building where the green roof is the design center. And so what happens is the executives would be looking down on what would be a really, kind of a crummy looking roof. And so we said, well, green roof is a great strategy. Why don't we think about doing that?
Yeah. Now, what extra, you'd think, okay, you've got to do a lot of extra support, more than support on that kind of a roof than you would if you just had a regular roof up there.
Yes, you do, but it isn't, proportionally like, 100% more or something like that. And actually, that's a really good point, because when we first did that project 10 years ago, I think there were about 2 companies that did green roofs, and the amount of depth that was required was much greater. Since then, because of the interest in green and really people gravitating to it, there's like maybe 15 companies that do it, and the amount of earth becomes shallower and shallower. There are systems that are now 3 and 4 inches you can do.
So we talked about other companies that have green buildings. What does LPA do?
LPA specializes in 5 categories. It's mostly institutional work, schools, higher education, civic work, corporate facilities, and developer work.
So do you walk the walk yourselves in terms of the building you're in?
Yeah, absolutely. I didn't feel that we could really try to convince our clients to do it unless we did it ourselves. And so we had an opportunity to do our own space in Irvine. It's a LEED-rated project. It was actually one of the first interiors in the state, part of their pilot program. We've got lots of things that are going on in there. We like to use it as a lab. That gives us the ability to kind of experiment and try things out before they go out in the field in our client buildings.
Well, let's kind of walk through the building here. You start right off with the lobby doors, right?
Yeah, the lobby doors are actually made out of recycled milk bottles. It's a translucent glass, and that's just an example of one of the sort of recycled materials throughout the project that happen.
And something else, it's not just what it's made out of, but it's how it's designed as well. You don't have private offices, is it?
That's correct. As we talked about earlier, conservation is a really great place to start, and so therefore we basically didn't put any private offices in our building because it's much less expensive, and the other part of it is it lets all the daylight to come in from the building from wherever it is, and then we control the daylighting with sensors up in the ceiling that basically monitor the amount of light coming in, and then they sort of throttle the artificial light based on that.
And then you also, the way you do business too, you do a lot of teleconferencing.
Yes, we do. We have an office up in Roseville, and then sort of to kind of cut down on our carbon footprint, we do a lot of teleconferencing. We actually do it with some clients now. It's becoming much more acceptable. The technology's improved, but again, it's really sort of thinking about things that you can do and sort of, maybe try things in a business way that are a little different. They not only are sustainable, but they also are good business practices.
Now we've heard a lot about different kind of cars, but and one of the technologies we hear coming along are fuel cells, and that's something you're also involved with.
Yeah, as part of one of the experimental things we're doing right now is we have 3 5 kW fuel cells being installed, and fuel cells take hydrogen and they create electricity out of it, and their byproduct is basically hot water. So they have like 0 emissions, and we're actually taking that hot water and we're using it to preheat on our cycle the heating system, and it also produces electricity.
Oh, so they're basically there to make electricity.
Yeah, and the real advantage of a system like that is that you take sort of the byproduct of it, which is the hot water, and you use that for something sustainable. That's when it becomes really win-win.
Okay. Stay with us. We're going to come back with in our final segment with you as well. More on building green and green buildings here in Orange County right after this.